All right. So with that, we get started. So agenda for today is we will have the welcome address from the HL7 staff. We have an excellent line of guest speakers who will share their insights on, or you can say nuggets of wisdom on the interoperability landscape that they are seeing today and how Fhir is changing that landscape. And then we will have a Connectathon overview of what exactly are we going to do for 1 month, right? So how do we navigate the 1 month? And we will also have some details about, not details, but summary of all the tracks that are proposed and confirmed, right? So we'll just go through all those tracks as well. It will be a very brief introduction to the tracks and some like what's the track about, what's the purpose of it. That's all right? And that we will cover today. And then we will also discuss about what next, what is tomorrow, what's coming tomorrow. We will look at that. And then finally, we will take some Q&As and question and answers. While you are free to type in the questions, both our co-hosts will be able to answer some of the questions, but we will take other questions towards the end of the session. So with this, I'm just trying to see who from HL7 India is available. May I have a call of names who is from HL7 India? Aditya, you are there?
Yes, Satyam, I'm here.
Dr. Chandil, are you there? Okay. And Arun, are you there? Okay. So Aditya, why don't you go ahead and start a brief about what is HL7 India and a brief about the organization itself and the journey so far.
Sure, Satyam, let me add my thoughts on this. So welcome everyone to the HL7 India Fhir Connectathon. This is our second edition and thanks everyone for joining in. So a brief about HL7 India. We are affiliate of HL7 International, and majorly our goal is to spread the interoperability using HL7 standards. We are a not-for-profit organization, and we all, me, Satyam, Dr. Chandil, we all are voluntarily take part in HL7 India activities. And so this event is also like organized by majorly through HL7 India. The journey begins, I mean, much before even I started working, almost, I think, 10, 12, 13 to 14 years back with Dr. Sridhar. I think Dr. Suktain was there, and nowadays Dr. Chandli is heading over the HL7 India. So our primary goal is to work with HL7 standards and try to spread those standards, make them available to everyone through various activities like training or connectathon or through different events. So that's like a brief about what we do. So we have different office bearers in HL7 India, like technical chair committee, or I'm chair education committee. Satyam is technical chair committee. Dr. Chandil is chair, Dr. Nija, and there are other members also on the certification side and membership and other things. So we are a membership driven organization where individuals or organization can go for the membership for HL7 India. There are multiple benefits of going for membership, and that membership you can apply for 1 year. That membership is valid for 1 year, and you can apply as an organization or as an individual. So that's you can say a summary. That's
Thanks.
all from mine.
Yeah, thanks, Aditya. We also have Arun on stage. Arun, if you can add your experience of HL7 India, and then we can get started.
Yeah, thanks, Satyam. So I have been associated with HL7 India from April 2015. I have held various posts, including secretary and treasurer, currently part of the governing council and as well as the technical committee. A small story, how this entire Fhir experience started what you're experiencing today. It just started over a cup of coffee when I met Satyam in Philips a few years ago. And he said, we need to start building the community. I said, yes, that's really great. Come aboard. And that's how he came in to HL7. And then from there, we started planning. The first event that we did was an open house in Bangalore. And once we found that that is successful, we knew that there's no looking back. And from there, we did an open house in Chennai. We had a lot of meetups. The first meetup was in Philips. The second meetup was in Dr. Pramod's office. And the third meetup was in CTS Tech, thanks to Anuj who hosted us. So in each and every event, we have been seeing that this community has been growing more and more. And I'm really glad to be part of the second Fhir Connectathon, hoping to see to achieve more and more than what we have achieved in the past. Satyam?
Thank you, Arun. So yeah, so I just wanted to make sure that it's a journey and we are on to a long journey. So some of you are with us from the starting. Some of you have joined over the course of time. But one thing that is constant with the Fhir India community is whoever joins stays, right? And we are just going on building from strength to strength. And that's the welcome address that we wanted to give, right? So welcome everyone. Welcome to the Fhir India Connectathon, Pre-connectathon Kickoff. On behalf of HL7 India, I, Kumar Satyam, welcome all the participants to this event. We are also thankful to our sponsors and supporters. So Kakinos is the gold sponsor, AliveCore is the silver sponsor, and we are supported by HIMSS India. So this is a community effort, and these all things have come together to make this event what it is today. So with that, we just get into the core of the agenda. And we have a lineup of very eminent guests from the industry and who have agreed agreed to come on board and share with us some of their experiences of how they are seeing the HL7 Fhir interoperability landscape changing and what do they see coming ahead. And it's not going to be a big lecture. It will be just a few words of wisdom, and it's even those few words coming from these vastly experienced folks will definitely be a huge learning experience for all of the participants. With that, I introduce the guests for today. We have our first guest, Professor Suptin Sarvadhikari. He is a veteran in health informatics, and he was the former HL7 India chair. We have Sadhana, who has agreed to join this call from US, and it's very early morning for her. So thank you, Sadhana, for joining. So Sadhana is the Director of Education, HL7 International. We have Madhusudan Karupkala. He is the chair of HIMSS India Interoperability Committee, and he has joined on a short notice. So thanks, Madhu, for joining. Rajashekar Komu is the Chief Technology Officer of Kakinos Healthcare, and he brings in outside-in perspective to healthcare. He is from a fintech and real tech background, so it will be interesting to hear his take on healthcare. We have Anuj. Anuj is Vice President of AliveCore, and he has been an industry veteran for long, and he has been a supporter of the Fhir India community since the beginning. And finally, we have John Morkey. He is the HL7 co-chair security, and he is in the Fhir management group, and he is out and out Fhir interoperability IHE evangelist. And so we will hear more from John and others in the subsequent weeks. But today, we will have a few words from them, a few nuggets of wisdom. So we'll get started with Professor Suptin. Suptin, sir, if you are there,
yeah,
please.
Thank you very much, Satyam. In fact, I'll start from where Arun and Aditya left. So actually just a brief about the HL7 India genesis. HL7 India came into being in 2008. Saji Salam was the first chair of HL7 India. He was there for just 1 year. Then Bimal Nayak was there from 2009 to 11. Now, HL7 International actually started the first online course on HL7 in 2008. And JP Patnaik and myself were there in the inaugural batch. Subsequently, we became tutors in that international course. And in 2009, I became the chair education committee of HL7 India. In fact, the first one, and we started offering the HL7 India online course from India itself. That's way back in 2009. And now I think Aditya is carrying it on very well. So subsequently, I became the chair of HL7 India. That was 2011 to 13. I was succeeded by Dr. D. Lavanian, 13 to 15. And after that, Dr. Chandil took over from 2015 onwards. I had also, meanwhile, become the founder member for the HL7 Fire Foundation in 2018. And as luck would have it, India got the National Digital Health Blueprint in 2019, November. That's just about 2 years back, where it's clearly written that HL7 Fire Release 4 will be one of the recommended standards for the digital health activities in India. So I think it's a great thing. The other thing which happened, which with I've been actively associated, I've been a member of the project management and steering committee for the National Resource Center for EHS Standards at CDAC Pune, who actually do this interoperability things. And I think we'll be having their participation also in a big number. I'm sure Manisha will be joining if she's already there. She might also share her views. And they are doing a great job. In fact, for the last time that we held the Fire India Connectathon, that time we developed those NDHM profiles. We have a National Digital Health Mission. Now it has been renamed as the ABDM, the Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission. So under that, some fire profiles, India-specific fire profiles have been developed. It's available in the National Resource Center, the EHS Standards website. And definitely, we are going to refine it. We are going to work on the other standards. In fact, Pramod is very active and trying to put in law, ink, and fire. So we have a lot of integration and harmonization on the cards. And I think Fire Connectathon, nothing better than that. And I'm definitely looking forward to active participation from all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Suptan. So where do you see the roadmap for interoperability globally? And
yeah, Fire is officially, I mean, Government of India officially backs it. So they are saying for Fire-based open APIs. So Fire is very much, in fact, if you hear the CEO of the National Health Authority, Mr. Adesh Sharma, also regularly talks to the press, and he says about Fire interoperability will be enabled in the systems for everything related to digital health. So we do have governmental support, but as I think Pramod and Satyam will be knowing very much, and they're doing on it, that as a community, we need to show them that we are not just a vibrant community, but we are giving something which helps the Government of India roll out digital health in a better way. So Fire is definitely the way to go. And we have government support. Now building up the community is in our hands. And I'm certain that all of us are going to live up to the expectations.
thank you, sir. Sadhana, if you may go next.
Yeah, thank you so much, Satyam. It's truly an honor to speak from United States to my birth country. Always been proud of my roots, and I was excited when you asked me to speak. I think as the Director of Education, I joined HL7 International in 2017. Prior to that, I was always in academics on the teaching side and later on the administrative side. And when I joined HL7 International, one of the first things that I did was try to make the Education Advisory Council, which basically advises me on the educational offerings, more diverse. So Satyam, I asked you to join the Education Advisory Council, and then Aditya joined, and two of you have been very valuable members. And because of that, we have diversified our offerings also. For example, Aditya teaches a couple of our courses. One of our more popular fire certification prep course taught by Aditya, and another course for information analysts, which is offered during the week as well as a weekend course. For the first time, we offered a weekend course last year. So I'm big on diversity, and the reason I'm mentioning it over here is that we hope that diversity, not just in terms of nationality, in terms of the age group also, we are hoping that more younger people will join and join us and help us in our effort to build education for the whole world. Now, as far as your particular question, what do I see for the interoperability landscape and Fhir? Pardon my pun, but definitely Fhir is catching fire. It is what I have noticed as the Director of Education is that every year since 2018, education revenue has gone up by 20%, and a large part of it is because of Fhir. More and more people want to get trained in Fhir. They want to take Fhir education courses. And when I was joined in 2017 of the first year, for full year of 2018, I started developing a credentialing program. That is, if you get certified, you can add credentials to your name, something like HL7 Fhir. If you're certified in Fhir, then you would something like certificate CMA or CFP. We would offer you can add credentials to the end of your name, like CHL7 within parentheses Fhir, for example. We started working on a credentialing program, and at that time, 2018, what I noticed was that the demand for Fhir certification did not go up as much as I had expected it to. So it was very difficult for me to make a case to the board to offer a credentialing program. So we waited, and I'm happy to report that this year we have seen that the demand for our Fhir certification exam has doubled. And so now next year, we are going to make it one of our top initiatives to introduce a credentialing program. So that gives you an idea of how fast the demand for Fhir education, Fhir certification, and Fhir implementation across the world is increasing. Another thing I want to tell you is that it's not just in advanced countries, but in lower and middle income countries also, the demand for Fhir education is growing up. And I'm very excited about that. For example, this year, we offered for our very popular, the Fhir fundamentals course, we offered 20 scholarships to folks in Indonesia. A group from Indonesia came and they asked us, can you help us with Fhir training in Indonesia? And we offered 20 scholarships. They came back to us and they said, can you offer 20 more scholarships? And we did. So that was a very, for me at least, it was something which I was excited about, and we are hoping to implement that next year in Africa, countries across Africa. And for that, we are going to have a webinar on November 30th called HL7 Education in Africa, trying to understand what they have currently in Africa so that we can decide for the next year what we have to offer. So we are going to, next year, that is going to be one of our key initiatives to spread Fhir, to train people in Africa in Fhir. So that gives you an idea of how fast Fhir is spreading and how fast the HL7's education training in HL7 standards is spreading across the world. And so that is a quick answer to your question. And now if you have any questions for me, please go ahead. Satyam?
Yeah, thanks, Sadhana. That was a great insight. Like that, the learning means that is a good indication of the takeoff, right? Means the demand for learning, right?
Yes, it's not just introductory Fhir courses, and I'm very happy. I looked at your
right.
tracks, and I noticed that it's not just the starter track, but then you have more advanced tracks also.
Right.
And I find that people are interested in not just the introductory Fhir courses, but more advanced courses.
Yeah. Thanks, Sadhana. With
And
that,
thank you. Thanks everyone for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you, Sadhana. So we have reached a limit of 100 users and we have a lot of people waiting. So sorry about that. I did not realize that we will be reaching 100 plus. So so it's a good thing. But what is happening is John is waiting. So please do not admit anyone right now. Please do not admit anyone. Let's admit John if there is a vacancy. So let's go that way. And with that, we hand it over to Madhusudan Karupkala. Madhu, if you are there, please.
Hi, everybody in the Fhir Connectathon. Good evening. Thanks, Satyam, inviting me for this occasion. I am representing HIMSS India. As many of you know, HIMSS is an organization globally trying to get the power of information technology to revolutionize healthcare. And especially in India, we have a great opportunity to make a difference. Globally, HIMSS and the HL7 IHE organization collaborate. The Connectathon happens and the qualified products are given an opportunity to be part of the interoperability showcase in the HIMSS event in North America. So I think Satyam and myself have discussed, I think even in India, we'll eventually try to get that kind of a collaboration so that we'll set up a very tight coupling between the technology and the marketing side of the things that HIMSS largely represents. I think very recently, many of you would have experienced the HIMSS India conference, which went off successfully. We'll sequence it in the subsequent years so that the Connectathon and the HIMSS comes into play and also benefits all the eventual customers, the hospitals. So that's where I represent the HIMSS organization, which truly believes in standard-based interoperability. And also had come with the experience within Philips, where we have a large group focused on this enabling interoperability. It's very clear to me that doing it in your own proprietary formats will never succeed. It can work in a given small situation, but if you want to really scale and address the kind of challenge we have, for example, in India, it's very important to leverage standards. To the question you also asked, Satyam, what is sort of the roadmap and how we see it? I think we have seen in the last few decades what has worked, right? HL7 2.x has been sort of the de facto, or is still the de facto standard. And for whatever, good or bad of HL7 2.x, but that's the de facto standard. And that's how standards stay in the industry. We have also seen HL7 3.0, which promised a lot but could not, sustain for long. And now definitely we see the buzz around Fhir, and definitely a lot of hope there and promise, as Sadhana also was mentioning in terms of the Kickoff. Definitely that's also the direction in which we observe largely. It's also defined by the latest generation of API-based access and community creation, and that's where I think in India this whole effort to build this HIMSS community makes a huge difference. Coming from the HIMSS perspective, it also interoperability is defined at four levels: foundational, structural, semantic, and organizational. For me, what you guys doing in Connectathon represents all of it, and definitely enables what kind of standards using the Fhir, etc. And the organizational part is a very key element that HIMSS wants to highlight. because beyond all the technical interoperability, the right policies and getting the people together, the people interoperability becomes a core. Very much have seen that getting the people together solves a large part of the problem, and definitely the technology becomes the enabler. And for India, especially, I see that also a great opportunity in North America or other places. We see definitely, HL7, 2.x, and all its comes with all its challenges. And in India, if you're able to move to Fhir, and also as declared in the Abdm, it becomes definitely we can leapfrog the technologies. I think it's a great opportunity, and whatever that whole team is doing here in the Connectathon is a fantastic, and the whole community is building up. Definitely seen it growing in the last 2-3 years. So a fantastic direction, and it'll be a great asset for India if you're able to jump and make the Fhir R4 work for India in this context. So it's all very relevant, and definitely the next 5 to 10 years is going to show how it's going to take off. So great opportunity from the Indian perspective as well. My only request is, as I said, finally, it's about people and the organizational aspect that come into play. And all of us are involved in our own ways, whether like a developer, an architect, a project manager, a business leader, in whatever capacity you have, ensure that we take that extra step towards standards. I think it will make a huge return once you look at it from a larger perspective. It's very easy to take shortcuts and say this particular thing is cheaper or shorter for me. But as a larger community, I think it's very important to stay on standards. And I think Fhir is the de facto one for the future and more modernized. I think so. I think if we all get behind this and get out of our silos, it'll be a great thing for India as a country. So with that kind of just a quick experience sharing, I would wish the whole community best of luck for this Connectathon event.
Thank you, Madhu. Thank you for your wonderful words. With that, I invite Rajashekhar to share his thoughts.
Thanks, Satyam. Thanks a lot. It's actually wonderful that the healthcare community is kind of welcoming somebody who is an outsider in that sense. For the crowd who do not know me, my name is Rajashekhar and I am the Chief Technology Officer for Kakinos Healthcare. While my total experience is of 25 years in the industry, I am an absolute beginner in the healthcare side. Interestingly, my journey actually into healthcare or induction into healthcare happened in the last Pre-connectathon event. When Satyam was conducting, Satyam and the rest of the community was conducting the first Connectathon event, I participated in that, and that is where I got introduced to various healthcare terminologies. One of the things that actually I noticed as a part of that is I come from fintech and proptech background. And healthcare, when I was looking at the overall technology landscape, it's kind of few decades behind, probably a couple of decades, 15 to 20 years behind compared to the rest of the industry. So I used to wonder what's the reason, means like, why is it what's the big deal basically? Why is it so difficult? Why can't people adopt the most modern stacks and most modern practices that are there out in the world, which are very common in other industries? So I thought, let me see what needs to be done. But the last 16 months, basically into the healthcare community, means like the industry, tremendous amount of learning over the 16 months. The first thing on a lighter note that I learned is that there are just way too many acronyms in healthcare. Means like just mind-boggling number of acronyms. Means like PACS, RAD, means like whatnot, means like the first few actually weeks, I had to maintain a glossary of what are all these terms: EHR, EMR, PHR, Fhir, open air, means like so many acronyms. It was fun to learn all those things and understand the finer aspects, finer differences between a PHR, EMR, EHR, what are the actual differences between them and all that. The other thing that I immediately noticed as a corollary is that there are just way too many systems and devices, which is not very common in other industries. Means like the number of interfaces, if I may call them, means like the devices just are mind-boggling. In a typical hospital setup, we probably find like the last count I had was like around 60 to 70 devices that are there, each one doing different things, and the way they kind of take data in or give data out is very, very different. Each one is their own unique format, and that is when I started appreciating the kind of challenges that healthcare, unique challenges that healthcare domain has, and why interoperability is such a fundamental thing. Basically, why is it so important? And those learnings, basically those learnings are carried forward, at least as a part of my day-to-day work that I'm doing at Kakinos Healthcare, where we are creating a platform. Is for those who do not know Kakinos Healthcare, we are a young startup. We are like around 15-month-old startup, primarily focusing upon cancer care, and we are trying to create a distributed cancer care network, primarily to reduce the burden in the country of burden of cancer in the country. And it is kind of enabled by a technology platform with the core, one of the first core principle of its design is interoperability. Interoperability is the core of the platform. That's how we started. So that's the advantage that I had looking back, starting my journey into healthcare from the pre-connectathon of Fhir itself. So that's kind of helped me leapfrog and understand some of the challenges much faster than probably some of you would have taken a few years to actually understand. But luckily, the community is so forthcoming, and they were able to accommodate people like me and then help me understand and gain my ropes very fast. Basically, that's very good thing. And I think Satyam and the team is doing a wonderful job in terms of building the community, the Fhir India community. Not just Fhir, means in general, overall the interoperability space. That is, there are healthy discussions that keep happening on multiple forums. That kind of helps us kind of spread the message. So one thing that I constantly, for the last 16 months, from my perspective, one thing that has been constant throughout is learning. I mean, the learning aspect of what I am doing, basically in terms of healthcare, because I come from an external domain, that has never stopped. And events like this, basically the pre-connectathon and the connectathon events like this, these are the opportunities where not only the healthcare domain folks, even others who are just entering the domain, it creates tremendous opportunity for them to start getting started into the domain and also learn new things. And they get inspired that there's a great occasion basically for others to get inspired to get started on something which they were not doing in the past probably. And also it's a good opportunity for the best practices and the kind of people who are already doing it to spread their knowledge to others, how they are doing it, and that kind of picks up spreading the evangelism. The evangelists can kind of talk about how they are doing it so others can learn. So that's what I'm looking forward for the rest of the course of next 4 weeks till the main event. So I'll be on the learning side and not spreading side primarily. So again, thanks Satyam for the opportunity, and thanks for the rest of the community for accepting other people. Thank you.
Thanks, Raj. Your insights and your learnings are helping us realize that the complexity is there. So we sometimes take the complexity for granted. So for all the engineers out there, we are solving a complex problem. And so just be there, hang in there, do your work. With that, I invite Anuj. Anuj, please be online.
Sure, Satyam. And thanks for giving me this opportunity, Satyam. And I wasn't aware I need to speak today, so I'm going to speak off the cuff. I don't have anything prepared here. So for a quick introduction for those who I haven't met before, and there are many of them here I might have not interacted with in the past. I've been in the healthcare space for over 20 years now, and a lot of it in the interop space. Started with a company called Health Unity, where we built predominantly interop-based solutions on the IHE profiles, the XDS.B as an example. So we built a lot of the patient portals, and did a lot of direct-based messaging protocols as well. So those were things that were evolving at that stage. So that was I would say the early days, 15, 16 years back, when these profiles might not have been very mature in themselves, but over the period of time, a lot has become pretty strong in themselves and adopted across various product lines. So I've worked a lot with IHE, HL7, obviously, EDI, and well, off late, a fair bit with Fhir as well. I wouldn't consider myself an expert. I would say I've been more of a supporter for the community and on the technology side rather than building these solutions myself of late. So my interactions with the HL7 India community started a few years back when I was with CityS Tech. We in fact hosted one of the events at the CityS Tech Bangalore office at that stage. And that was the first time that I interacted with a lot of you there. And I think even though I've been, I would say, a silent spectator for many of the conversations that's going on across Zulip and the WhatsApp groups that are there, I'm aware of what all of you are working on. And first of all, hats off to the initiative that a lot of you are doing in terms of building solutions for India. I remember from my GE days, they used to have initiatives called In India for India. So basically build products for the Indian markets out of the India office itself. You guys are doing nothing different. These are solutions that you're trying to adopt the best of the best in terms of building solutions for the digital health initiatives across the country. And that's a remarkable thing to do while all of you are doing your full-time jobs as well. This is not your full-time jobs, right? This is something you're doing in your free time as your passion, and that's fantastic to see. And continue doing the great work that you are doing there. Over the last 2 years, I moved out of CityS Tech and I joined another healthcare startup. It's called AliveCore, and I was happy to be a part of this event in terms of trying to sponsor that as well. At AliveCore, we build EKG-based devices. In fact, you can see this small little device here. You can take your EKG using just this small a device. Gone are the days where you need to have giant machines to do standard or FDA approved or medical grade ECGs. What we've tried to do over the course of this year as well is see what it takes to build in interoperability based solutions around this as well. Can we exchange ECG data, whether it's using HL7 V2 or with Fhir, with some of these big EHR vendors that are there. And we've been working closely with some of them, and hopefully we'll soon be announcing some of our solutions there as well. And while the flip side to all this, what I would like to say is while we do have a lot of these standards evolving, some of them moving faster than the others in terms of adoption, good example being Fhir, which I think is the way to go going forward. Some of these vendors might not be moving at the pace that all of you as a community would like it to move at as well. And that's where we need to nudge the system into making sure that these things can be adopted fast enough. It is required. Fhir for sure is the way forward. And having some of the big vendors adopt and have solutions in this space will make it easier for others to come up with solutions there as well. Seeing over 100 of you on this call itself just shows the importance that that you are working on, and just continue the great work there. And I look forward to a good, healthy conversation over the course of this 1 month. Thank you. Over to you, Satyam.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Anuj. With that, I invite John. John, if you are there.
Good morning for me. Good afternoon for you. Yeah, John Murky. I appreciate the invite that Satyam had sent me. And I didn't necessarily plan anything to say either. Except to just kind of introduce me as a resource that I would like to offer available to you. So I've been active in the healthcare standards since 1999 when I joined GE Healthcare, working through different medical devices and the healthcare IT business. Actively engaged with the GE community in India. Been there a couple of times, and I kind of am starting to miss it a little bit. So I'd be happy to come back. Currently, I'm working with a professional consulting organization that tends to work with the U.S. government initiatives. So I'm working with the U.S. Veterans Health Administration to help them use Fhir in their patient portal. So capturing patient-generated health data, interacting with the patient, those kinds of things. Been involved with the IHE, co-chair of the IT Planning Committee, active participant in a couple of different organizations. So I've got the background and subject matter expertise and lots of the XD, the old school, so to speak, but the stuff that still is running many of the cross-enterprise interchanges, but also key to the Fhir solutions. IHE had been profiling and writing implementation guides using Fhir back at prior to DSTU2. We produced our first the MHD mobile health documents back at the same, simultaneously with them with DSTU2. So IHE has a portfolio of implementation guides for from the infrastructure group. We've got a bunch of them that are doing Fhir documents where CEA documents would have been used. We've got Fhir equivalents of those. And then clearly I've also been seen as one of the leaders in security and privacy, which is my co-chairship over in HL7, co-chair of the security work group. But in HL7, I'm also a appointed member to the Fhir management group, part of the Fhir core team. I think I joined the core team just after their famous picture, so I don't get to claim that I'm part of the originating group, but I think it was only a couple of weeks later that I was part of that team, putting things into the Fhir core. So security and privacy pages, therefore audit event and provenance and consent and digital signature. But I'm also the lead on document sharing. So the document reference resource. I'm the facilitator for the imaging integration. So imaging study, and pretty soon a new resource shall appear in R5 for supporting things like key image notes and the like, so key slices. And then I'm engaged in a lot of different activities, both within the document development area, but also in the just use of RESTful. I think it's a great opportunity to use the Fhir RESTful interaction. It allows us in healthcare to use modern tools to benefit through the fact that the greater IT space has developed tooling for support of RESTful APIs, the use of JSON and the like. And really from a security perspective, we get to benefit by all of the security that comes with those infrastructures. So using HTTPS, using OAuth, and it's really a great opportunity. But the flip side is using Fhir REST means that we are using an API that is far more discoverable. The community of hackers who would never have bothered with HL7 v2 or DICOM DMZ see a RESTful API and go, I wonder if they've done this right. I wonder if they've done that right. So it does, from a security perspective, it does put a higher importance on us as the healthcare, interop developers and implementers and users to raise the bar on security. We have to admit that some of the previous interop standards kind of got away with more relaxed security just through obscurity. Using Fhir, and especially using the RESTful APIs, we have a bigger target on us, and it's not because all of a sudden healthcare data is more important. It's because we're using a more readily available API, a more discoverable API, but also an API that is following patterns that we benefit for on the one hand, because we get to use RESTful tools and JSON, but on the other hand, you know, the hackers who would never have noticed healthcare before can look at that and go, huh, let's play around with this. So, and I see that a couple of messages have gone in. There's been some high impact visibility around some research that has been done. That research was intended in absolutely a positive way. It was not intended to be a negative against healthcare or fire very specifically. It was intended to say, hey, look, recognize that you gain from using HTTP, REST, and JSON, but recognize that that means you are potentially more visible and therefore you have to up your game. You can't get by with obscurity. So I think I'm just going to close by saying, hey, you know, I am always open to conversations or questions. I quite literally do welcome people asking me questions about security or interop. My only warning to you is if you ask me a very interesting question, I will probably put the answer I give you onto my blog. So recognize I won't call you out unless you want me to, but it will more than likely turn into an article. And I do that for my own purposes because it helps me focus on writing well, but it also, when somebody asks me a question that I've previously answered, I can just simply refer to the articles. So by all means, I'm open for questions and I'd love to help. Thank you.
Thanks, John. So that you have given an open invitation. So we will schedule some technical sessions with you in the coming weeks, and mostly about the security aspect of interoperability, because what we hear is interoperability in a way is means interoperability and security do not go hand in hand, and this is a common myth that I hear a lot of places, right? Because we will be interoperable, we will be less secure, right? So it will be interesting to take your perspective in a detailed session where we just go through that. How do we make, means the differentiation between security and interoperability, right? They are not mutually exclusive, right?
Absolutely.
And we need to see how Anuj is securing his devices, because the risk is more on these devices, right? Who are now natively exchanging data, right? So we'll have to see like how the security works for the wearables, the closer to body devices, right? And what are their implications? So sure, John, and definitely, since you have given us an invitation, we will call you out for a few of the interesting technical discussions, because we have a track which is called Fhir Server implementation. And there we think security plays a major role. So we will reach out to you for one such session, John. Thanks very much for joining your morning. I know you have to go to Fhir. What is that? Fhir Norway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I will be presenting fire security to a Norway group at the top of the hour. So I'll probably be dropping off. But yeah, I've put some links in the chat to my blog and to some links on my tutorial. I really want to stress, you know, the whole purpose of security is to address risks to confidentiality that we're used to. Okay, encrypt everything, but also integrity and availability. So it really is the responsibility of security to make sure that the right people get access to the right data at the right time, not just stopping the bad guys. Security is also there to make sure that the right people get the data at the right time. So availability, risks to availability, is not just keeping the bad guys out. It's making sure the good guys do get what they need. Yep. Thanks, you,
John. Thank you. So I would like to thank our guests again for this insightful session. Thanks, Professor Supten, Sadhana, Madhu, Raj, Anuj, and John. With this, we move on to the next segment of our kickoff, and that is about what to expect in this next 1 month, right? And how do people prepare for that? And going ahead, so what to expect in a pre-connectathon? And a lot of people have asked this question. So here is like what I have summed up, and it's like, this is 1 month for you, the participant, the track lead, and the organizers, everyone to actually prepare for the event, right? It's more about refining the tracks, the offerings, so that we actually end up creating something meaningful that can be readily used by the takers. That's number one. There is a lot of pre-work that you can do, which would be helping in meaningful contribution. And I can give some examples from the last year's Connectathon. Last year's Connectathon, as Professor Supten also mentioned, that we did this Fhir India profiles. So literally the track participants would be sitting in the night post their work for 2 to 3 hours and just completing the profiles. So what you saw in the Connectathon was a prepared work, which actually happened in this 1 month time. Similarly, there was a track last year, which was teleconsultation track. It was like literally that group, that track built Fhir-enabled teleconsultation track completely end to end. And it's not possible in 2 days. So they did a lot of prep in the lead up to the Connectathon. And actually that track was even recognized by Graham, and it was also published in his blogs and other places. So what I mean is pre-Connectathon is the time where you gel as a team in the track, you refine the track objectives, try to see like what exactly will be more meaningful, and more meaningful for you as a learner, more meaningful as you as a contributor, and more meaningful for the end user, right? So that's what the pre-Connectathon is about. For people who are new, people who have not having contacts, or who have lost touch, or who are getting into things, right? The pre-Connectathon also serves as a very good runway, right? Where you can slowly get up to the speed, learn to build things, try out different things in the track, and be ready for the main event. So that's another good advantage of the pre-Connectathon. Do remember, whatever happens in the pre-Connectathon is always in that group, right? So it's a very safe place to learn, experiment, fail. Yeah, so that's how we put the pre-Connectathons, and the emphasis on the pre-Connectathons cannot be like overemphasized. That's critical. Do keep in mind that not all tracks have the same pre-Connectathon schedule, right? So since we have many tracks, not each of the track will have the same schedule. Not each of the track will have the same rigor. Not each of the track will have the same outcomes, right? So the rigor in the track, the work in the track, the kind of knowledge that you want to put in, the kind of work that you need to put in, it depends and it varies from track to track. So depending on the track of your choice, you will have you will see different types of schedule, or different kinds of schedule that you'll have to meet. And this schedule is totally dependent on the participants, the track leads, whoever are making that track, right? So it's that. So the track leads do make track leads and the participants actually come together and decide what to do, right? And then they follow that up, because ultimately it's the groups, the track participants, the track leads responsibility to make the track a success. All right. So I emphasized on track leads. All right. So who are these track leads? So these track leads are typically the subject matter experts. They are the ones who have extensive knowledge in that particular objective or the outcome of that particular track, right? So, for example, Aditya is the international HL7 trainer, and he is going to run the fire starter track. So he's the subject matter there, right? So when it comes to HL7 education, he's there, right? So like that. And the track leads are the owners of the respective tracks. So they are responsible and accountable for the track deliverables. So whatever is committed, whatever is vetted, right? So it's the responsibility of the track leads to actually deliver that. Okay. Now, track leads may not be able to do everything on their own. And that's when they enlist support of a few members from the participants. And they are in the form of core track leads, or if it is more of a helping hand, they can also have coordinators and other volunteers, right? But the onus of getting the track to fruition and the completion lies on the track lead. Okay. Pre-connectathon schedule for the track is managed by the track leads. So whatever the group decides, whatever the participants and the track leads decide, track leads manage the schedule for the pre-connectathon. So they will decide like what date and what time to meet. They will publish the calendars. They will set up the invites and all those things. That's the track lead. So track lead is a big responsibility and a big visibility kind of role. They're equivalent to heroes or superheroes in our terms, right? So because they on their shoulder with the participants carry the track, right? Then who are participants? So track leads are also participants. So everyone who gets into the track is first a participant. Okay. And the participants, what is the responsibility of the participant? Participants have to show active participation in the track. They actually work with the track leads to bring clarity to the track. So if you go through the tracks, some of the tracks may not have the respective clarity, right? The objectives may not be clear when we start the pre-connectathon. It could be like something is very gray. Some use cases are not defined, right? Something does not make sense, right? So participants actually try to bring that clarity to the track, right? They work with the subject matter experts who are the track leads to actually build their skills and also contribute, right? So that's the track participants' role. So track participants are the actual guys who make the track worth. So alone, the track lead cannot do anything. And if there are no participants in the track, there is no meaning to that track, right? So track participants make the track worthwhile, right? So based on, so whoever is in the role of participant, they are the ones who are the key for the success of that track. While the responsibility is with the track leads, without participation, nothing happens. So participants connect, collaborate, and create, right? So that's the theme of our Connectathon as well. All right. So before we get into the specifics of the tracks, I just wanted to bring upon like the code of conduct and how do we conduct ourselves during the event, right? So I'll just pause for a minute so that you can read the text, and then I'll explain what it means. So what it says is our code of conduct is very simple. The code of conduct says that Connectathons are a collaborative event where you work with your typical competitors as well. So Siemens would be working with Philips and GE. Cerner would be working with NextGen. So like that. So in connectathons, the code of conduct says that even though you are working with your competitors, you are not supposed to gain competitive advantage. Do not disclose any proprietary or confidential information about your company, about your product to anyone, and do not try to take advantage of any of your competitors' lag. So it's more about being respectful, having positive intentions, presume positive intentions. So whenever people are talking, people are discussing, collaborating, just take an effort, make an effort to make sure that see things in the positive light, right? Help each other, right? So connectathon, the theme of the connectathon is collaboration. And collaboration is all about helping each other grow. Because as you see, as Raj mentioned in his talk, there are plethora of devices and systems in a typical hospital. And if you just expand that to multiple hospitals across the country, across the state, across the district, you are going to deal with hundreds of vendors, hundreds of device manufacturers, hundreds of people, right? So we need to build that. Attitude of collaboration. And what happens is connectathons do teach that spirit of collaboration. So that's how and why connectathons even become more important, right? More you learn, as well as you also learn the soft skills of collaboration. How do you be respectful when you are disagreeing, right? How do you put your points through? All those things you learn during this connectathon. All right. So this is the last slide before we get into the tracks. So this is about where do you get information, and this is a question that has been coming in the multiple participants, and they have been asking, right? That maybe I have not received the email. I registered late. I did not get any invite. All those things, right? So while the registrations are going on, there will be a lag between the time you registered and you get into the system, the mailing system and other systems, right? But that does not mean that you lose out on any of the opportunities or any of the information, right? So as you know, all the documentation of our tracks and all the documentation related to the tracks are on the Confluence. And Confluence is editable by everyone. So anyone can log in and edit. So of course, be in sync with your track leads and edit, which it makes it meaningful, but anyone can edit, anyone can read. For reading, you don't need login, so you can just go. Each track has listed their objectives, outcomes, what to expect, what tools to require. You can go and read their documentation. If somebody wants to register, they can go to the connectathon2021.in website to register. You can register as an individual, or you can buy tickets as a group, as a team. Okay. For discussions only, we have Fhir India Community Zulip chat channel. So where in the coming days, each of the tracks will have their own stream, and within that stream, the discussions will happen. And the streams will slowly be restricted only to the participants of that particular track or the participants of the connectathon. So we'll have to see like how it pans out. But all the discussions, the technical discussions, the discussions about the outcomes, anything, document sharing should happen on Zulip chat, not on WhatsApp. WhatsApp would be more for instant messaging, right? If you want to notify something about something, maybe you can use WhatsApp, but the documentation that is going to be persistent, the chats that are going to be persistent, that can be helpful for others, should go on Zulip chat. Last year we used Slack, but Slack hit the limitation of 10,000 messages. So we moved on to Zulip chat, and Zulip chat is the same chat engine that even chat.fhir.org uses. So once you get a hang of the Zulip chat, it will be very easy transition to the chat.fhir.org. So that's why we are using the Zulip chat. For information, you can also, the information will be published on the Zulip chat. The information will also be shared on the LinkedIn channel, right? Twitter and Instagram are more of a marketing channels, but for information, do look at Confluence page for documentation, Zulip chat, and LinkedIn for notifications. In case of any problems, any issues, there is an email ID. Please reach out to this email ID and we try to resolve your issues. Okay. So with that, we can get into the next section, which is about the tracks. Okay, so, okay, before the tracks, what is there for tomorrow? Let's see that. So tomorrow is 11th of November, and tomorrow we have a guest lecture by Kiran Anandam Pillai. He is the technology advisor for National Health Authority. And he will be talking about what is ABDM and what is the ABDM roadmap and how does it relate to our tracks and what is the expectation, right? So, and ABDM has Fhir components into it. So definitely it will be a good segue for some of the tracks that are very specifically catered to Indian markets or Indian domain, right? And then followed by Kiran's talk, we will have the pre-connectathon track roadmap and the plan rolled out by respective track leads. Okay, so the respective track leads are going to talk about what they intend to do in the pre-connectathon, right? And it could be as simple as when do you want to meet next, right? And you can be as detailed as possible where you laid out everyday tasks. But that is the expectation from the track leads that tomorrow when we meet, you lay out like what do the participants do next, right? Where do they meet? What do they do next? When is the next meetup? Those kind of things should be presented tomorrow, okay? The duration of tomorrow's meeting would be around 1.5 to 2 hours, depending on how much time the track leads take, but it will be more or less around this time. The track starts tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. So please note the time. It's like 30 minutes later than what is today. So 5:30 p.m. One caveat is we have certain tracks which are confirmed and certain tracks which are not yet confirmed. Okay. For the confirmed tracks, the track leads have a better idea of what to do and how to plan about it. For the tracks that are not yet confirmed, I think we will have a different discussion when the tracks get confirmed. Okay, so tomorrow's session will be more focused on the confirmed tracks and we will see what tracks are confirmed. Okay. So with that, we get into the track details. The first track is the Fhir starter track. It is the first track in the listing as well. And it is a very good first track because it's a Fhir starter track. I would let Aditya talk about it for in 2 minutes if we can brief about this slide. Aditya, that will be good if you're still there.
Yeah, sure, Satyam. Thank you. Okay, so hello everyone. So the Fhir starter track, as the name suggests, it's a starter track. It's for the beginners. So it is for anyone who thinks that they want to start or they want to take their first steps towards Fhir. But like the quote I have mentioned over here, it will be more about involvement of all the participants while we're learning. So it's not really a formal teaching because that's not the essence of Connectathon. So it's more about we do something and we learn something. Okay, though I'll have some, you can say, sessions, formal sessions in between those couple of days, 2.5 days of event, but majorly you will try things on Fhir specification. You will get to know what is Fhir specification. You will get to know where to find what is resource, what is API, and most importantly, the objective here is to understand how using Fhir you can solve the interoperability issue. See, that's the key. The whole aspect of HSN standard is to solve the interoperability, right? So we'll take use cases where, and not just like a very high level use case, but proper use cases where we will try to see how using Fhir resources and APIs, how we can leverage Fhir and its API to solve that interoperability things. So you will be able to see the backend thing going on. That means if two systems are connecting, I'm requesting for appointment, how that should be done, all those things. So that's the whole idea, and anybody can join. Honestly, that's why it's a starter track. No prior experience needed. Not even if you think you are new in healthcare, forget about interoperability. Even if you are new to healthcare, you can join this track. Okay. And in 2.5 days, that's what we experienced last time. Almost 100 plus participants were there in the last connectathon in this track. And the outcome was very good. They were able to understand a lot about Fhir, not just high level, but a lot. So anybody can join, and we will try to understand the entire Fhir ecosystem. As I said, it's more of learning by doing. So yeah, that's all about Fhir starter track. Over to you, Satyam.
Yeah, thank you, Aditya. So as the name suggests, it's a starter track. Aditya is the track lead. He will be enlisting, or he will be needing some help with the co-track leads. So if you have experience with Fhir, or if you want to help out, please reach out to Aditya as well.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that, Satyam. There are a couple of, they 2 to 3 people I most welcome. They can join if you have experience and you want to get involved as a track lead, as a co-track lead. Please do reach out to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Aditya. The next track is the ABDM implementation track. I'm not sure anyone from the track is here. If you are here, you have the 2 minutes to explain the track. Anyone from ABDM? Manisha, Shaili, Ritika? No? Okay.
Hello, Satyam.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Saili here. Basically, the ABDM implementation track will, it is intended to cover hands-on experience in onboarding to the ABDM environment. We will, we will be trying to understand what ABDM building blocks are there. There are a number of building blocks like digital health register, facility registry, then doctor registry. So we will be understanding those digital things. Then when in Ayushman Bharat digital mission, where FHIR comes in the picture, so whatever data is getting transferred between all these entities is getting transferred in the FHIR format. So for that we have FHIR implementation guide for ABDM. So we will go through that guide and we will understand what all health records that are getting transferred in the ABDM environment, and we will understand those health records and try to populate those health record, that bundle using Happy Library. We will do a hands-on on that. The next step, at the start of the to getting into the ABDM is to create a health ID. So we all will create a health ID, and then we will do a hands-on, or we will get a knowledge on how to create HIPs, which is a health information provider application, and HIU health information users. All these things we will understand in the pre-connectathon track. We will give introductory sessions to all these building blocks of the ABDM, and we will programmatically populate these health information HI types with a use case, which we will be explaining tomorrow maybe, and using that use cases we will populate all these HI types, and we will try to exchange it in an ABDM environment. Yeah, thank you, Satyam. Over to you.
Thank you, Sahili. So this is a track which is like quite hot, and we are seeing a lot of interest in this track. So do reach out to Sahili for any clarifications, or if you want to participate in this track.
Yeah, one more thing to add, Satyam, sorry. If anyone is interested and already have hands-on on how to create HIPs and HIUs, so those people are welcome to join this track. And if any knowledge we can share in, based on this, you can reach out to me or Satyam to connect on to this track.
There's a question on this track. Would you also be setting up and interacting with ABDM sandbox?
Yeah, that's what we are planning. Yes. So for that, registration is required, and that registration has to, agreed or processed through NHA. So we will be doing that also. So we are planning to do that. Yes.
Thank you. Thanks, Shirley. With that, we go to the next track. That is the Fhir server implementation track. Do we have Arun Kumar?
Yes, hi Satyam, I'm here. Okay,
Yeah.
So I have packed the entire information into a single slide. First of all, the objectives of this particular track is to put knowledge into practice. Many of us have been learning about Fhir for the past 2 years, be it in the Connectathon last year, or we have had in meetups and things like that. So this is the time for you to put it into practice. So what we would be covering are 2 use cases of a Facade and a repository server. So persons who are not aware of what a Facade server is, it's basically an implementation where we create a happy Fhir server for an existing database. So within Connectathon, the existing database is going to be OpenEMR. OpenEMR was chosen because it's open source, and we have access to the database, and we can do whatever we want. Within the repository server implementation, this is very closely tied with Abdm. We will be taking the HL7 to V2 Fhir transformation profiles from as given in Abdm and populate a Fhir repository server. So you will understand how you can use the happy libraries to do the data transformation from V2 to Fhir. So in addition to that, you would have understood about extraction, ingestion, and retrieval processes, and familiarize on extensions and interceptors. One more big takeaway is about securing Fhir server. In the initial stages, you would be actually working on a Fhir server in which certain securitization has already been set up. And then later during the track, you will learn of how to do it. As far as the audience is concerned, solution architects, product owners, developers, prior participants of Fhir tracks, and students are welcome. The prerequisites for this particular track is that you should already be aware of basics of Fhir, especially on the patient profile and observation profile. These are the 2 profiles we are going to work on. And you need to have some amount of technical knowledge, more to do on Java. Please do visit the Confluence page for more information. Thanks to all the people who came forward. This track was originally proposed by Shrikanta and myself, and Shrikanta nominated me to be the track lead. Thanks, Shrikanta, for that opportunity. This being quite a large track, and I know there's going to be a lot of people joining in. I have 3 co-leads, Geetanjali from Persistent Systems, Akshata also from Persistent, and Harpreet Singh from AliveCore. So please be connected and updated on your information. I have mentioned the Zulip and as well as Confluence sites. The Confluence page, like what Satyam said, is going to be dynamic. As in, when the pre-connectathon progresses, we will get to learn from participants and others. So basis that input, there could be some small change. There could be changes within what we are going to cover, and so on and so forth. Also, the orientation sessions are pretty important. Please kindly remember that in the actual Connectathon days, it is going to be more of hands-on. There's not going to be any kind of teaching exercises. So during the orientation, we plan to cover the Fhir architecture framework overview, introduction to the Happy Fhir libraries itself, what are the various deployment options of Happy Fhir servers, and a few basics of OpenEMR on how you are going to operate, so on and so forth. So since we are going to be working on OpenEMR, you will have to bring your own devices. We will teach you how you can configure OpenEMR. We will be giving you a Docker container of OpenEMR, which you can either deploy on AWS, DigitalOcean, or even locally. If in case you do have any issues in terms of any technical issues, please do reach out to us over Zulip. We will try to help you as much as possible. Out of the orientation programs, introduction to Fhir libraries and basic OpenEMR are mandatory. And Fhir architecture framework overview and deployment options are not mandatory, but are recommended. Satyam?
Thanks, Arun. So this roadmap will be more detailed out tomorrow, what to do, what not to do, and what is the plan ahead. So please do join the meeting tomorrow to learn more about what specific that you need to do for that particular track. Okay, thanks, Arun. With that, we move to the next track. This is the IPS track, or the International Patient Summary track. Is Manju online?
Yes, Satyam.
Yeah, Manju, go ahead.
Hi, good evening all. This is a track where within an hospital enterprise where the interoperability was focused till now, but that dimension is actually going to change with Ayushman Bharat, the another track which has been just provided, where the data should be interoperable and it will be able to move seamlessly across the country. But this particular track is not, it's transcending the national borders when it comes to the international travel, and there is an unplanned care continuum is required. But considering the international, that doesn't mean it cannot be applied even within the transnational, within the national boundaries. In case if a patient is admitted and as part of the continuum of care, if a healthcare record is required, then what is the minimum patient summary which is required by the healthcare providers in order to continue the care is what the main objective the track will be focused on. And in terms of this, we'll be focusing on what the patient summary document creation and retrieval, and how can we perform as part of the care when there is an update to any of the FHIR resource, then how those updates to reflect in the system. So that's the purpose. And the user story, though it is as part of the standard, the story is about the international, but we would like to connect this also to the Ayushman Bharat track, where within a country also the systems considering a healthcare record can be geographically agnostic, legally agnostic, and is it minimal, and also facilitate the continuum of care along with the patient movement. Next slide, Satyam.
So that's all, Manju, ahead.
Okay, thank you.
So thanks, Manju. And so this is one of the tracks where we need more participation, and this is a track which is still under review. So if you are interested in this track, please reach out to either Manju or me, so that we can that can help us in considering the track. And if you also want to volunteer to help out co-track lead or anything like that, right, just reach out. Okay, and the best way to reach out is on Zulip, right, and then also on the WhatsApp group that is there, right, for the connected participants. Please do. Okay. Next one is terminology track. So terminology track, Dr. Pramod Jacob, if you are online. So I don't think Dr. Pramod Jacob is online. So
actually,
anyone
I am
who is
here.
there?
Yeah,
Hi, sir.
I am here.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So okay. This is the second year that the terminology track is sort of building on what we did last year, and this year we have a very sort of crystallized objective. So what we're going to try and do is we are basically looking into the lab workflow, the workflow for sending out a lab request and getting a result. That basically is the, to say it in a sentence. What we will be doing is, because we actually are going to try out something which we hope, if it works and will work, we are going to actually deploy across the NDHM, or what is now known as the ABDM network, from January onwards. We have our test pilots and we have our clients who want to do this and actually start carrying it out. So what we'll be doing is basically we take scenarios where you have a clinic from where a doctor sends out a lab request via something called a service request, which is a Fhir artifact, and that goes to a lab, an external lab. The lab receives it, they do the needed tests, and they send back the result in another Fhir artifact called the diagnostic report. Both of these artifacts have been worked on pretty well by the profile team last year and by NRCES, and they are actually being published. So we are actually going to be using those published artifacts to carry out this flow and see how well it works, right? There are two situations that we will be actually considering. One is where you have both the system that is going to send out the order, something like an EHR or EMR, which has got LOINC already incorporated into their system. And similarly, the lab system or LIS system sending back the result will also have LOINC incorporated in the system. But we also would like to try out a situation where, in case the sending out system or the receiving or the order sending out system and the lab system do not have the LOINC incorporated. We have to remember that in India, we have over 100,000 laboratories. So trying to get them all to incorporate the LOINC code, which is a specific code for results, right? It's the specific code that is being used for results and also for vitals. It's going to take a while. So is there a way of sort of fast tracking that by having something called terminology servers, where you call for the code or for the LOINC term and code when it is required, when you're sending out the order, and when also you're sending the result back from the lab to the clinic. So what do we hope to achieve? I'll just quickly just say that basically what we are looking at is, firstly, in the first case, the first thing we look at is the information flow and the workflow. Okay, so for example, if a doctor in a given clinic is sending out an order, lab order for a given patient, when the lab is sending back the result via a diagnostic report, is that result going and sitting, firstly, going to the correct clinic that has asked for it, to the correct doctor who has asked for it, and to the patient, to the relevant patient that it is supposed to be for in the encounter that where this test was asked for. It should not be going and sitting in some other encounter of that same patient. So all this information flow will be carefully tracked to see that it works properly, and that in fact the result is going and sitting against the order which is sent out, which was sent out for it. For example, in a bunch of orders, I might ask for a random blood sugar, and I might also ask for a fasting blood sugar. It has to be made sure that the fasting blood sugar result comes and sits correctly in the order that asked for fasting blood sugar. And similarly, the random blood sugar should come and sit correctly in the random blood sugar order, right? So that information flow and the workflow will be very carefully tracked. Then we will also, of course, be leveraging terminology services to exchange laboratory service requests and diagnostic reports to determine practicality. And in bringing about semantic interoperability, especially in our Indian lab ecosystems, including the fact that we probably have some digital divide in the remote and rural areas. And of course, then we have been working for the last, there has been a LOINC India working group, which has been working on localizing the LOINC codes for India and coming up with a LOINC India database. And we have been doing it for the last 6 months, especially in the last 4 months. We will be utilizing the LOINC India database as a reference database for LOINC standards in India. So that is it in brief. More details tomorrow. So this is what we hope to achieve. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. With that, we go to the next track, which is structured data capture track. Avanti Joshi, if you are there.
Yes, hello. Am I audible?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, because there have been some network issues at my end since afternoon. So kindly excuse if we lose out some words or sentences. Okay. So hello everyone, this is Avanti, and I'll be leading the structured data capture track So this track intends to design and test Fhir questionnaire and questionnaire response resources. So if you have seen the Fhir-based specifications, we normally go through certain resources, but there are special resources which are used for structured data capture. And we will be working over those resources, which are very interesting. So a few selected forms and questionnaires used in the Indian healthcare system will be converted into Fhir questionnaire and questionnaire responses and tested for a viable design approach for consistent, coherent data collection. So now questionnaire is a blank form and questionnaire response is a filled form in a layman's language. Now, we all know that there have been concerns regarding the user interface for all the healthcare system, EHRs, EMRs, PHRs, etc. Right? So we need to address these issues, and if Fhir can help us address these issues, what can we better expect? So this is a different area or different aspect of Fhir which can be explored, and so this was very interesting for me to start working over it. So I had a HL7 international training on structured data.
So I think we lost Avanti because of network issues. So in essence, this is a structured data capture track which talks about how do we standardize the forms and exchange.
So I'm very much thankful to HL7 International for having such a wonderful training. And Lloyd, hello.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, even I lost it. Okay, sorry. So you were saying something?
No, please continue. All right, so more details on this track will be coming tomorrow. So with that, we move to the next track, which is the Fhir Cancer Registry track. Manish Sharma, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, Satyam.
Yeah, Manish,
okay.
Over to you.
Okay, sorry for the interruption. So I think I wanted to mention my
Go ahead, Manish.
I was just waiting to see if Avanti can log in to close out.
Yeah, that's what check.
Yeah, hello. Am I audible?
Yeah, we are losing you. So we move on to the next track.
Yeah,
we can cover tomorrow, the
yeah,
SDC.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Manish.
Great, thanks. It's really great to be back for the second Connectathon, Fhir India Connectathon, and participating since the last year. I think I see a lot of tracks have gotten into the implementation mode, and that's I think so. Keeping in track with all that is going on around us that we have seen since the last year. And with that, we come up with the Fhir Cancer Registry track, wherein as part of the NDHM, it was indicated as an interoperable disease registry that needs to be enabled. We taking the case of a cancer registry and how using the different the HBCR and PBCR, two different forms that are there, and the context in each of them that needs to be captured. We will build out the solution step by step along with everybody in terms of how you can go about implementing a similar implementation for different scenarios that we will highlight. During the course of our discussions internally within the team, Dr. Kunal at one point in time had given us the whole discussion about the cancer registry kind of started off internally at Kakinos from there. So hopefully we are able to share our learnings with the community over here at the Connectathon. More about this tomorrow. Thanks.
Thanks, Manish. This was one more slide you have covered already.
Yes, Satyam. So as part of the cancer registry track, starting off with the HBCR, PBCR forms, take individual elements that are out there, move towards creating the profiles, and map them at the India Cancer Registry IG is what our expected outcome of this particular track is going to be. And then test out this particular implementation guide based on the different solutions and the different tracks that are in play during the Connectathon. So I think so. All in all, we will try and do our best in collaborating with each and every track that's out there. Thank you.
Thank you. So the next track is DICOM and Fhir track. Is Revati around?
Yes, Satyam, I am there.
Please go ahead, Revati.
Yeah, thank you, Satyam. Thank you all. Good evening. So as part of this track, in fact, we are trying to bring in two standards commonly used across healthcare together. So if you see, right, most of the healthcare information, one form of data exchange is via the reports. The other form of data exchange is typically via the images or the pictures, right? As we all, it's a common saying, right? A picture is worth 1,000 words. In fact, that's what we are trying to bring about in this track, bringing in the DICOM web interoperability standard aspects, its integration with the Fhir standards, how it could come together to enable a simple radiology or a cardiology workflow within a radiology department or a cardiology department is what we would want to achieve as part of this track. So as part of the objectives of this track, some of the key objectives are indeed to understand the intersection points with respect to these two interoperability standards, how DICOM web complements Fhir to enable exchange of image data. That is the first part. We will also be doing a deep dive with respect to the integration of these two standards, how they could be brought together, and how these two standards can actually enable next generation workflows and solutions. So a sample workflow, what we would be picking up for the integration activity is the radiology SWF, the IHE radiology SWF profile, wherein a patient is admitted, an imaging procedure is done, and reports are shared. A small workflow would be picked, and that's what we would try to demonstrate, how these two standards could come together to enable exchange of both reports as well as the accompanying images, which would be in the form of either JPEG or DICOM. DICOM in case of the radiology or the cardiology related workflows, and JPEG typically in case of the anatomic pathology related workflows. So that's one of the key objectives that we want to achieve as part of this track. The other key objective of this track is that currently within the ABDM ecosystem, primarily the infrastructure that has been evolving or has evolved is focused towards exchange of reports, could be in the form of lab reports or any patient summary reports. The other dimension that we want to bring in as inputs to the evolving ABDM framework is how to enable exchange of images in the digitized forms. So that is one of the important input that we would be taking forward, and we'll also be looking for input from all of you on how we could bring together, move away from the traditional, CDs or the images, and how we could enable digital access to all these DICOM images for patients themselves, or to that matter, a care provider. In fact, this track would be actually linking few other tracks as well, towards the telehealth space, apart from the other ABDM track, which is also part of this Connectathon. So these are the key objectives that we are trying to achieve as part of this track. So typically what we would be testing is identifying the key Fhir resources, how these resources can come together, integrate with DICOM web, enabling image lookup, enabling image exchange. So that's the key testing part of it. And also we will also go through some of the sample IGs that are already available within this space. So that would be the test part of it. So typically the expected participants would be any participants with cardiology or radiology information systems who would want to, make use of this infrastructure, or also in future would want to link to the ABDM framework to enable exchange of images. That would be one key aspect. Apart from that, any developers, product managers, product owners, or interoperability SMEs in both these spaces would be equally benefited from this track. In fact, that's where we are looking for key participation from all of you. In fact, this track is not confirmed yet, but tomorrow we will go through in detail about this track, and yeah, would look forward for all your participation. All the information, detailed aspects, workflows are already outlined in the Confluence page. Please do visit and share any feedback that you have. Thank you, Satyam. Over to you.
So thanks, Revati. This is a very, very interesting track. And this track is in fact looking for track leads and pro track leads as well. So if you have deep expertise in DICOM, imaging and fire, please do reach out to Revati, and you can together refine the track. As Revati said, this track is still not confirmed. But if you are really interested in this track, please do reach out to her, and you have time till tomorrow 4 p.m. And if you guys can work out a magic, this track will be a wonderful addition to the event. Next track is the consent management track, and this is Ram Ganesh or Virendra. If you are there, please go ahead.
Yeah, Kumar. So this is Ram Ganesh. Yeah. The consent management track is largely exploited from the things that we currently do for CMS IPA rule, right? The important thing is that obviously we are doing a lot of transactions, clinical transactions about the patients to a provider, to a laboratory, to and other payer organizations. We use that data for research. We do use the data for data analytics, etc. Right? So, but do we really get the consent from them? Is what the question is. So this particular track is focused on creating a consent capture for any of the patients who is actually having a data at any of the platforms that a provider use or in insurance organizations are using at this point of time. And once they give the consent, capture them, store it, and then enable a validation for that. And also depending on the policies that are administered by the government, we can actually enforce those policies and configure them and improve patient privacy and also consent for treatment and also the care coordination consents. So that's the important aspect behind proposing this consent management track. So when you talk about the use cases, we are thinking about enabling obviously the patient capture for right now we also have a lot of third parties who are actually looking for patient data, where we are exposing the data to third party applications and to any payer applications or any provider applications or any internal and external applications in an organization that actually uses the data are all qualified to use this or be part of this particular consent management track. So we are also looking at enabling the authentication authorization using the IAM, and also we want to use OAuth 2.0 protocols, ensuring that the security aspects are absolutely getting followed in here. And also, for example, if I want to not send a particular data to a particular party, right? So labeling those security labeling those attributes and overriding the policies, etc. Are few of the use cases that we are looking to do at this moment. We will not do any advanced care directives or marketing consents at this point of time. You can move on, Satyam. So what do we plan to achieve in this consent management track? So like I said, the patient consent should be made mandatory for any of the clinical data transactions that we are currently taking from the sources and transacting with different stakeholders. That's something which is really important. We are planning to manage an extensive amount of data, but at least 2 years of data is what we are currently looking at.
Any other questions for Vivek about that?
I'm sorry?
Go ahead.
Okay. And then architecture to manage data both on premises and on cloud. is again, like, security for both the scenarios is something which we will be looking at. And connection to Fhir servers with common interface. Right now, we are looking at, like, Happy Fhir server. And in fact, like, if anybody who can help us with, like, any other Fhir servers and want us to create a model for that, like, we would like to enable that. But mostly, like, a common adapter is what we will look at, like, for the Fhir servers, basically, right? And also, like, gradually make a framework that is freely available as a part of HL780 and share the important things that we plan to achieve for this consent management track. From anybody who's interested in this track, like, it doesn't matter who is a developer or somebody who's a consultant or somebody on a security aspects, somebody who's actually a clinician, anybody who wants to involve in it, like, are absolutely invited. We'll go through it in detail maybe tomorrow. Again, looking at an architecture as to, like, what we're looking at and what we think we should be doing from a consent management track perspective. That's it from my end, Satyam.
Thank you, Ram Ganesh. And with this, we come to an end to all the track overviews. And now we are open for question and answers if you have any. So,
Satyam, as of now, how many tracks are confirmed?
As of now, there are 5 tracks which are confirmed. So total, there are 9 tracks. 5 tracks are confirmed. 4 tracks we still are waiting for more data.
Do we know which are the confirmed tracks?
Yes, we do know. So Fhir starter track is the confirmed track. Abdm implementation track is a confirmed track. Fhir server implementation track is a confirmed track. A terminology track is a confirmed track. And this guy is a confirmed track. Fhir cancer registry is a confirmed track. So the tracks that we are still looking for more data is the IPS track, then the structured data capture track, then the DICOM and Fhir track, and then the consent management track. So these 4 tracks, we are still looking for more participation. We are looking for more interest, and we are looking for, like, a proper structure to come up, right? How the tracks will be executed, how the tracks will be led, all those things, right? So there is still 24 hours to go. And we are hopeful that some of these tracks might get converted to confirmed tracks. Because all these tracks solve a unique proposition, and they bring a different aspect of it. It will be sad to lose out these tracks, but let's see.
So how many attendants are, I mean, how many participants are do you need for a track for it to make the cut?
See, the participants is one aspect of it. So participant wise, it's like 3 different companies and 10 participants. That's the minimum to be considered, right? Apart from that, we are also looking at, like, what's the structure? How is it going to be executed, right? What's the outcome? What's the plan for the connectathon, right? Pre-connectathon. All those things we are evaluating, right? So minimum to be considered itself for evaluation is like minimum 3 companies and 10 participants. Just to consider, means to get to the next step.
So I mean, in the structured data capture track, is it the number of participants who are falling short? Because I think it was very well put together otherwise. Is it
it's the number of participants and number of number of participants is the main thing. Means we don't have 3 different companies, 10 people, right?
Okay.
Sir, I'm Srividya. I just have a question. Like, can I ask?
Please go ahead.
So, like, I see the number of tracks that we are allowed is around 2 to 3, right? How is it? But our interest, like, as you said, in DICOM also, we feel it is important, and the structured data, like, we feel like each and every track has immense of amount of data knowledge. So how is it, like, will we be missing something? How is it when we are not getting the opportunity to attend all these tracks? Like, currently we are not into a specialization mode, but gradually, only after knowing the details, we would like to get specialized. So how is it? How can you just guide us on how to select the topics?
Yes, definitely. So let me know if you can hear me because I lost my screen. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. So my screen sharing, I'm not able to see. I don't know whether I'm sharing or not. So the thing is, when we are asking you to choose a primary track, right, and a secondary track, right, that is only to ensure like what is your primary interest. Okay, that's number one. Second thing, in the connectathon, people are not restricted from joining a track. I mean, so you are free to hop on, hop off any track you want. Okay, but the thing is, in order to do a meaningful learning, or in order to even get some outcome, right, which is technical or a tangible outcome, it is recommended that people get themselves aligned to one track and then maybe two tracks in parallel. But if you go beyond that, we have seen by experience that it is not very helpful to the participants. So again, saying that, we are saying that we are not restricting anyone to go from one track to other track. You can very well, if you can participate in all the tracks. Okay. But what we are saying is the general recommendation. Okay. And we want to understand what is your primary inclination and what is the secondary track. And that's why the pre-connectathon survey is important.
So having said that, it's not just we feel that it is not that primary and secondary. Like if it is like a weekly training sessions or something like that, we can
it's not
have
a
a
training.
meaningful.
No. So
Yeah.
connectathons are not trainings. Okay. So the fundamental difference is connectathons are not trainings.
Okay.
Connectathons are about towards an outcome. So if you see all the track presentations, they are gearing towards an outcome, right? So they intend to do something at the end of the connectathon. Learning is specific to that particular outcome. So for that particular outcome, whatever you have, when you're focused on doing it, you will learn certain things, right? But no one is going to teach you. Means no one is going to have a classroom session where they are going to teach you things, right? That's only one track which is specifically for that is the Fhir starter track, where you will see some classroom type of teachings. Okay, but none of the other tracks will actually do a classroom teaching. It will be more of a hands-on thing where you learn by doing.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so it's not a classroom training.
Okay, so do we have a common database like where we can see the other track updates also in the Confluence itself? Like you mentioned that in Confluence, you will only the concerned track participants will be allowed to see. Is it or can we see the other tracks updates also?
Everything is open to everyone. Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
on Confluence, you can read everything. Okay. Even on the Zulip, you can chat anywhere. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much.
Hi, Satyam. I'm Abhirup. I had a question actually.
Go ahead.
Right. It actually sort of trails from the previous question, something you mentioned that the Connectathon is not necessarily a training session. And that was sort of my question because firstly, I found out about this Connectathon 2 hours prior to the event through a colleague of mine. So assuming that the end goal, of mine, for instance, is to have the data from our APIs be Fhir compliant, right? Given that I have no prior experience of this specification, other than like 2 days of, going through the website, the HL7 website, what would you say is the most efficient way to go about the process of, training oneself? Yeah, so clearly, my question was, is the Connectathon enough of a training primer? But you clearly mentioned that that's not the end goal of the Connectathon, though there might be like Firestarter might have certain training sessions, classroom-like sessions, right? So if that's the case, I noticed on your HL7 website in India that training sessions are in January or June, etc. Right? Given that that's too far away, like what do you suggest the best way to like, educate myself on the process so as to help my company be fire compliant?
Satyam, can I answer this question?
Please go ahead.
Yeah, Abhirup, it's a wonderful question. And so my name is Arun. I'm the track lead for the Fhir server implementation. What I would suggest is go through the Confluence web pages of the track that I have proposed.
Okay.
Since you already come from a background where you already know APIs.
Right.
We have provided a certain amount of self-paced learning material. You have a good 1 month to learn about it. And what I would suggest is if you can make yourself as a small team of 2 or 3, where you are an architect and then there are 1 or 2 developers, Java developers, right? You come and learn how to solve this particular use case. Okay. Learning Fhir, if you already know API, in my opinion, learning Fhir is not very difficult.
Okay. Arun, one question before you proceed. What is the track you suggested?
Fhir server implementation.
Fhir server implementation. All right. And so given that I have a JavaScript/Node background, is there enough room for that as well? I don't have a Java background.
So we are going to use Happy Fhir libraries, which is a pure Java solution.
Right.
And I'm sure with our experiences, language should never be a barrier.
Right. Okay.
Correct? Yeah.
Yeah. So just to add up, basically, that is, there are 2 aspects. One is definitely the learning has to be there, some learning, and that's where we have this Fhir starter track. If somebody says that we are new to it, then they can start with that. And this particular month you can utilize to grasp the basic learning, and you can see where your interests are aligned. You can even go and check out the pre-connectathon activities of various tracks. Like you're saying, you're from technical background, you want to go for Fhir server implementation thing. So when you join those pre-connectathon activities, you can see the current knowledge with current knowledge set. Can you go and participate in that? So that way it can help. And then the training programs are continuous things. So it's like the connectathon itself will also give you some learnings, and it's more of hands-on things. So all the tracks. So as I said, we have something for everyone.
All right.
Yeah.
So Sadhana, if you are still there, if you want to address this question.
Yes, thanks, Satyam. I have sent a private message to you and Arun. I had a suggestion, but it's up to you as organizers whether you want to do it. As far as education is concerned, we do have. I sent out a chat message. It was not for promotional purpose because I saw a couple of tracks on which we are offering some training. And for example, there is going to be some training on November 30th, December 1st and 2nd on terminology. And there's going to be another set of training for Happy Fhir. And also on our Education on Demand site, if you go to hl7.org and under the training tab, if you choose Education on Demand, we do have some pre-recorded sessions if you're interested in anything. Any of those sessions, you can purchase those and watch them. For example, Lloyd McKinsey taught a course on data capture, structured data capture, questionnaire and structured data capture. And that's an excellent course. He recently taught it. So you have a more recent version, and as well as he taught one last year. So you all can look at those courses. And if you're interested, you can take those online.
Great.
And that is for the short term. If you're interested for next year, what you can do is you can start with our basic. If you're totally new to HL7, which I'm assuming most of you are not, you can take the HL7 fundamental course. And then if you just want training for Fhir, these are all asynchronous courses. They are online. You do it at your own time. and there is a fire fundamentals course. And also my suggestion to HL7 India is you can offer these courses or any of our e-learning courses. You can offer, you can take those courses and offer those courses. We do have an agreement with our affiliates where affiliates can offer e-learning courses. And I'm mentioning that because if you find the prices that we charge at the international level too high, you can price it based on your region and you can offer those courses too. So those are all options available.
Sadhna, you mentioned that the fundamentals course is an asynchronous course, but I see that it starts on the 10th of Feb, right?
It is, yeah, when we say asynchronous, there are no live lectures, but it starts at a certain time and ends at a certain time, yes. And you're supposed to, I mean, within those time periods, and Aditya can give you more information, there are assignments due at the end of each week, and there are discussions, but learning takes place through discussion forums. There is an instructor for the course as well as there are tutors. So each student gets a tutor. So that's what is so unique about those courses. So when I say asynchronous, there are no live lectures.
Right. So if I wanted to go and see a recording right now, I wouldn't be able to do that, right?
No, not for the long-term courses. I mean, not for those asynchronous courses.
Mm-hmm.
But for the shorter courses, which are 6 hours, 6 hours, 12 hours courses, you can watch them on our Education on Demand site.
Okay.
So just to, for the interest of time, and coming back to the connectathon, right? And here would, if I were you, this is what I would do, right? I would choose a track which is more closely resembling some problem statement that I'm going to solve, okay? Right. And then I'll just get involved with that track, work very closely with the track lead, okay? Try to understand, grasp as much as possible, right? Right. Try to do the pre-reads, try to contribute as much as possible, right? And be ready, means just have 1 month. This is just, you can have it as like 1 month of free internship that you're doing at for building something, right? I would do that way. See, if I don't know something and something there really interests me, I'll just go in and just put my extra efforts in there and be ready, right? That's what I would do, means if I were you, right? And then when the courses and the time comes, you take the courses, right? And that's the best way of learning. And that's what last year also people felt, that they just latched onto a track and then they just did not leave it, means they just took it to completion. And that actually helped a lot of folks, right? So for example, you can take a Fhir server implementation track, or I'm saying, it means you can take a cancer registry track. These are like use case driven tracks, right? Where you do an use case, right? And this is for everyone, right? Means if you really want to learn Fhir by doing, just take a track, just run with it, okay? And for everything else, there is trainings, right? And we are happy to take these questions offline, okay? And let's move on to the next question if there is any. Any other questions? No? Done?
Satyam, before we end, could you please reiterate what would the participants can expect in tomorrow's meeting, please?
So tomorrow we have tomorrow, right? Tomorrow is 11th of November, and we start the day with a lecture or a session from Kiran. Kiran is our technology advisor at NHA. So he will give you a dump of what is Abdm and what is the digital health roadmap looks like. And then after that, we will have the track leads lay out the roadmap to the connectathon. So what is expected of the participants and what is the schedule for each of the tracks. So it need not be very detailed, because anything that is very detailed might change. but it needs to be at least what is the next that they need to do, right? That much level of clarity should be there, right? So all the track leads have to prepare a rough plan, a rough roadmap of what are they going to do in this next 1 month, and what are the some key dates and some things that they planned for the participants of that track, right? Plan well in advance so that it can be published, and all those who are interested can join. So initially, there will be there will be like no, and this is also based on the experience. Initially, each track can schedule their sessions such that all people can join. But as we go closer and closer to the event, we will see a lot of parallel sessions happening, right? And that's expected. So for tomorrow, just have the roadmap to the Connectathon and a rollout, like what do you expect the participant and the track participants to do in the next 1 or 2 weeks. Maybe that is good enough. Did that answer the question?
Thanks, Satyam.
And one more question, Satyam, somebody asked how they join tomorrow's meeting. Same Zoom link, or you will share a new one?
So I will share a new one, definitely, but already the information is published on connectathon2021.in, on the Confluence and on the Zulip. So all the 3 places, there is already the Zoom link for tomorrow, and it has been published, say 2 days in advance. Okay, emails will be sent out, but as I said, do not rely on emails, because emails are very, very flaky. Sometimes they go in spam, sometimes they do not reach, right? So Zulip and the Confluence should be your first go-to places. Emails should be secondary, right? In the pre-connectathon at least. Because when the main event comes, we will have the platform and it will have its own way of doing things. But yeah, emails will be sent. The short answer is emails will be sent tonight. Okay, what is the next question?
So there is a question from Bhavya. Hi, I have a question to ask. It would be really helpful if anyone could guide me with that. We are having a health app which we want to be Fhir compliant. Which track do you recommend?
So it depends on the app that you have and what is the specific thing that you want. So there is nothing as Fhir compliance, means what I say. Like, so don't look for Fhir compliance, look for interoperability as your goal, right? Because as folks mentioned, an empty resource is also a compliant Fhir resource, but doesn't achieve anything, right? So take a look at which track looks most familiar to you or most relevant to you. Do reach out to the track leads, ask them what exactly is in their tracks, and try to see if there is a match. And the closest match that is, please join that track. That will be the advice. All right, next question, please.
I'm coming from a testing background, and please help me, which is the best track for me other than starter track?
That's a fantastic question. So it depends on your interest. If your interest, and I assume that you have an interest in API testing and functional testing. So a couple of tracks could be good. One is the terminology track, because there the use cases are very, very clinically relevant. So that track may be a very good suitable track, provided that you have a healthcare background. That will be a very good track. The second track I can think of is the cancer registry track, because it's again a very, very use case driven track. And it has a lot of use cases where you can test it out. So these two are, if you're a functional guy, functional testing guy, and with a healthcare experience, these two tracks will be good. If you are a technical testing person, right? So you are involved in API testing, you're involved in non-functional testing. I think the Fhir server implementation track, and for that matter, the Abdm track would be very good tracks for you.
Right, right. So just adding one liner here, but also see the Fhir knowledge at the current Fhir knowledge along with all that. So the plus point with this connectathon is that we have a month's time, and there you should equip yourself further with the fundamental knowledge, like if you are on Fhir implementation track. So you can have some basic knowledge in this month, and over those 2.5 days, you can really go on hands-on thing. But everyone should also see this way. See, if I'm, for example, I'm a purely a Java developer, it doesn't mean that we can directly go and jump and start implementing everything in Fhir. I mean, it's not that also straightforward. So we should also focus on understanding the Fhir aspects also. I mean, we should not ignore the aspect that knowledge of Fhir is also essential for doing everything. Okay, any more questions, Satyam?
Any more questions? Okay, so we'll give 2 more minutes. If there are no questions, then we will disconnect for the day, and we'll meet tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. Any more questions? All right. Any comments from anyone?
Yeah, actually, I would like to make a comment here.
Please.
I think some of these tracks that have, that have been proposed are really going to be tracks which will be relevant. And I think probably what has not happened is enough understanding of what these are covering has not been, or has not been spread. Because something like the structured data track, I can tell you for sure is something that, any healthcare organization, I'm sure will be having use of. Most organizations build their own forms, or they have their assessment sheets that they build, and this is just the sort of track that covers that aspect of it. And in fact, I think it's been a fairly good write-up that has been done for that track. So I just taking that one track because I'm like I said, I'm pretty surprised. I also highly recommend that if somehow we can get the international patient summary track also going, even if there are slightly less number of course, you will need clinicians in that track. It is important. But these are 2 tracks which I feel we really, really need to sort of hope it gets confirmed, because they will be relevant. They will be relevant pretty quick. I feel. So anyway, just wanted to comment on that.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's absolutely that's why we have not yet what do you say? What do you say? Unconfirmed those tracks, means we are still giving it a long rope, so that we hope folks join. And we not only need participants, we also need core track leads and people to build together, right? So there is a lot of opportunity in these 2 tracks. So if folks are interested, please do reach out to the track proposers or to myself, and we can see what to do. All right. All right, so that brings to the closure of the event. Thanks for participating. I assure you tomorrow there will be no limitation of 100 users, so as many people can join. that will happen. We did not expect that there will be more than 100 people joining this kickoff meeting. That's a pleasant surprise, and we have taken a note of it. We'll make sure that tomorrow this same thing does not happen. Thanks everyone for joining. Have a good evening and a good day. Thank you.
Thank you, Satyam.
Thank you.